Welcome back to the Mr. Pizza Variety channel. We are talking about anime again, as you read by the title. That's right, we're talking about One Piece. Now, similar to the Chainsaw Man video where I talked about Chainsaw Man, how I watched it and everything, I'm gonna try to keep it as spoiler-free as I absolutely possibly can. And if there is gonna be any sort of spoilers, if you want to put it that way, it's gonna be like with no context, so you'd have to watch to find out anyway. So yeah. So first off, I would like to state that currently, as of watching One Piece right now, I am on the Whole Cake Island arc. More specifically, I'm nearing the end of the arc. So I'm getting closer and closer to finishing that, which means I'm almost towards catching up now, which is really good. This leads to the first question. When does One Piece get good? Now, if you would have asked me this a while ago, I would have said Arlong Park is where the series gets really, really good. But I retract that, because I actually think, upon further memory and remembering One Piece, I'd say the Baratie A arc is where it gets really good. That's when the show really picks up and the story starts setting in and everything. So I'd say that's probably where it really picks up. But of course, that is subjective. That's my personal opinion. Some people do believe that it gets better at Arlong Park. Some people believe it doesn't get good until 700 episodes in or whatever. And I mean, it's to each their own, you know? I feel like it's up to complete preference. Alright, let's talk about the characters. Obviously, let's get the obvious out of the way. We got the Straw Hat Pirates, but we don't just have the Straw Hat Pirates. Oh my god. One Piece has a vast array of characters. Bro, we got giants, there's fishmen, there's birds that can't fly, there's fucking talking trees. It's a mind fuck, really. One Piece, anything can be a character. So it's pretty hilarious. But if we want to be a little more specific and really lock in on characters, obviously we want to talk about the Straw Hats. They're great. What I love about them is that even when they grow as characters throughout the series, as the arcs go on, through the time skip and everything, even though they grow, as all anime characters do, they keep their personality, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that is, with the Straw Hats, every one of them has their own unique personality about them. They have a trait about them, and it never goes away, regardless of how far they've come, regardless of how much they've trained, regardless of how many years have passed. It doesn't matter. They still keep that personality trait, which is really cool, because maybe it's just me, maybe I haven't watched enough anime, but I do feel like with a lot of anime that I have seen, characters just don't always keep that personality trait about them. You know, they grow, but they grow in a way where it almost changes their personality. But maybe that's just my view on it. Now, what about the storytelling of One Piece? Guys, the storytelling is just, it's phenomenal. And it sounds crazy to say that, because the whole point is Luffy wants to be the king of the pirates, right? You think that's the most bland, basic story ever, which makes sense. I mean, you have Naruto who wanted to be Hokage and everything like that. It's a basic story, but One Piece is more than just one story. One Piece, every arc is a different story. And every arc has its own set of emotions and moments and everything. And it's so well written. I mean, yeah, I do think the first few arcs up until the Baratie A arc was where the storytelling was a bit meh, sorta. But once you get to the Baratie A arc, and from there, the storytelling is just amazing. And sometimes arcs, one arc will lead into another arc as a big full story, which is great. So example, the Baratie A arc, will lead into the Arlong Park arc and kind of continue that story from where the Baratie A arc left off. And not every arc is like this. Some arcs are just its own straight up story, and that's fine. Some blend in together. It just kind of depends on where you're at. But that doesn't take away with just how amazing it is. Look, you want to talk about emotions, man. One Piece nails with the emotions so well in its story. You can really, really connect with these characters on a deep level through what they're going through at times. And it's not many anime can do that. The storytelling, man, it's just, if I could describe it in one word, like I said, it's phenomenal, man. I also want to talk about the world building. The best way I could describe the world building of One Piece, it's a fucking fever dream. No, like, actually, it really feels like a fever dream half the time when you're watching One Piece. Like, yeah, you have, like, normal, like, islands through the seas, right? That are, like, villages, homes, and just inhabitants are everyday normal people who just want to live a life. But then you get to islands like Impel Down, a massive fucking prison with God knows how many floors, and like each floor has its own like environment about it. Like, what? Who thinks of that stuff? And it doesn't just stop there. I mean, you have islands that are dedicated to these insanely massive like government agencies. It's like, whoa. And then you have like islands made out of sweets. Like, example, Whole Cake Island. The whole thing of Whole Cake Island is an island made of like living sweets. It's just like, huh? I can't make this up. And I think that's like one of the best things about One Piece and overall with the world building of it. You don't know what to expect. And, you know, Oda's a great writer in the sense where he doesn't really care. Like, anything that comes to mind, he writes it. And that's what makes the world building great. Not caring. Like, the characters, the world, the island, everything. It can be as outlandish as it wants to be, but it doesn't feel wrong. It feels right for One Piece standards, because that's just how it was written out to be. And yeah, it's great. So is One Piece worth getting into? Yes, absolutely. Now, if you would have asked me this, like, when I first tried to watch it, I would have told you, fuck no, it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. But as somebody who has come to appreciate the show, yes, it is 100% worth getting into. And how should you get into it, you might ask? Well, there's two ways you can get into One Piece. And that's going to be, one, the manga. Now, I know, shocker. Oh, he said one of the best ways to get into it is the manga. Well, yeah, manga is one of the best ways to get into any anime. Whether that just be like that's how you want to experience it, or how you want to preview it in a way, maybe read a volume or two and see if this is going to be something you like, and then go watch it. It just kind of depends. But the manga is always going to be one of the best ways to go about it if you want the pure raw story. Look, not everybody has the time to just sit down and watch an anime, but they have a little more time to read. So they read. Or maybe some people just prefer reading over watching shows, and hey, that's fine too. Whatever floats your boat. If you're more into the reading aspect of everything, I highly recommend the manga. Same thing if you just don't have a lot of time to sit down and watch like 20-minute episodes, etc. Yeah, reading it's definitely the way to go. But if you're gonna watch One Piece, which I do still highly suggest that you do, I'm gonna recommend you watch One Piece. Now, I know some of the diehard One Piece fans are gonna come in and they're gonna say that that's the worst way to experience it. Like, man, I sat through every 1,155 episodes. Why can't you? And I get it. Like, I can understand where the diehard fans that were there since the start of it to where it is now. I get it. But for new people who want to get into One Piece, I do think One Piece is the best way to go. And the reason why is because, well, one, it takes out all the filler. You don't have to look up a filler guide to figure out what to watch and what not to watch. And it fixes the pacing. That's like the biggest highlight of One Piece, is how it fixes the pacing with it, okay? The problem with One Piece is the pacing, man. As much as I like the series, I will say the pacing is really shit. And that's mostly because of how it is. Because One Piece is one of that things. It's one of those anime where it's like, was it going alongside the whole weekly manga format? Yeah. But it didn't try to do so much filler. Instead, a lot of the times with One Piece, what it did was it would like, you're animating through a chapter and it would take a scene and scenes and scenes. And it would stretch it out as long as it possibly could. So they didn't have to do filler. And that just hurts the pacing so bad. And it really hurts the viewing experience in my eye. One Piece doesn't like ruin the pacing, it fixes the pacing. And any impactful scenes are no less different from One Piece to One Piece. The One Piece edit still hits really hard. It just really gives you a better overall viewing experience, and that's why I highly recommend that above all else. And then, yeah, that's going to kind of wrap it up for this video. Again, trying to go with the simple overviews of anime I like watching. I've been really enjoying making videos like this, watching through an anime, maybe not finishing it entirely, but at least watching enough of it or reading enough of an anime to understand it, come on and talk about it. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, with that being said, if you could take anything away from watching this video, go watch One Piece or go read it. It's a phenomenal story. You will not regret your decision whatsoever. And yeah, with that being said, I've been Mr. Pizza. Catch you all in the next one. Reese's Pieces, everyone.